What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Today we're going to go over the top waiver wire ads for week 15. We've made it to the fantasy playoffs, so hopefully your team is strong enough where you don't really need options on free agency, but we'll go over the top options regardless, and of course the top streaming options as well. Also, as I do for every single playoffs, I've made the website free for everyone to see. The only thing that's really going to help you, like right now, if you go look, is the free agency page, because it's Monday, right? It's not even the next week yet. But once everything else is up for the next week, you can start using that. So we're going to have no more trade targets because you're not trading at this point. Even if your league allows trading, the odds that you're trading right now are pretty slim. So that's going to be removed. You've got the rest of season rankings. You've got the playoff defense chart. That's going to be really helpful for you guys. And then, of course, the weekly rankings. And if you're out of the playoffs, you're just watching this video for fun, we've got the like the DraftKings, sports betting, Pick'em. All those pages are free as well. So check that out if you have not done so. So we're going to get into free agency in a second. First, of course, have to start things off as usual, stat of the day. The last stat that we did was among wide receivers with at least 100 targets through last week. So it wasn't counting this week, it was last week's stat. Justin Jefferson led the way with 15.2 yards per reception. I see who ranks second. Answer: Cooper Kupp actually has the high yards per reception this season. At ISO Buckets was first get that right on Twitter. Daniel Herbert first get that right on YouTube. Today's stat: 10 wide receivers this Sunday, so we're not counting the game tonight, obviously it hasn't happened yet, through Sunday. 10 wide receivers had at least 11 targets, but only one of them had fewer than 15 full PPR points. Who was it? All right, so first we'll go over some injuries that happened on Sunday and any sort of fantasy implication we'll have from there as far as adding players. At quarterback, we saw Lamar Jackson carted off with an ankle injury. We see Aaron Rodgers played through the whole game, but it came out that he did aggravate the toe injury. Tyler Heineke left early with the knee injury, though he was also just playing horribly. They probably wanted to make that switch anyways. And then Josh Allen injured his ankle, played through it for the rest of the week. Doesn't seem like it'll be a major injury. Of course, he played for it again the rest of the game, had over 100 rushing yards, but he did injure the ankle. The only backup we'd be looking at here is Tyler Huntley. He threw for 270 yards and a score, added 45 rushing yards. We don't really know at this point how bad the ankle injury is for Lamar Jackson, if he's going to miss any time. Of course, he was carted off, but it didn't seem like a major injury even though he was carted off. But this is a pretty easy one, right? Like if you have Lamar Jackson, just add Huntley, right? And then just see what happens later in the week. Then you can even decide later in the week. Like if Lamar's out, you don't need to start Huntley. You can maybe look at free agency for someone else, but just add Huntley. It's really, really easy. No one had him before this, so if you've got him, add him. If you got any of those other quarterbacks, honestly, just wait, right? I think everyone I just listed, besides maybe Heineke, is going to play, but it's not like you had Heineke anyways, right? So no real big ads as far as the quarterback situations for these injuries are concerned. Some important non-quarterback injuries were Austin Eckler and Kareem Hunt both hurting their ankles. We see Burkhead injure his groin. Bernard injured his hip. Emmanuel Sanders leaves early with the knee injury. Terry McLaurin suffered the concussion. The Burkhead and Bernard injuries have no real impact, right? We were avoiding the Texans' backfield all season. That's not changing now, right? And then Bernard, he was getting no work anyways. So if anything, this just makes the role for Leonard Fournette stronger, but doesn't make us all of a sudden really want, Ronald Jones, right? Like it doesn't really do anything, those two injuries. The other four are relatively important, but this isn't like an A.J. Dillon or an Alexander Madison situation, right? There are 0 players on free agency in a lot of leagues right now that are all of a sudden a top ad everywhere because someone got hurt. That did not happen this week, so don't think that it did even with these injuries. Only just like some players that, could see some increased playing time, but that you're still relatively unlikely to start in the fantasy playoffs, even if these injuries turn into more longer term injuries, which again, we don't know yet because it's only Monday. We'll learn more throughout the week. The most appealing to me is probably Gabriel Davis. He was already someone that should have been getting more work in the offense. given how poorly Emmanuel Sanders has played recently. Like, Gabriel Davis has just been better when he's on the field. Then we see Manny Sanders go down, miss some time. We're going to see Gabriel Davis step in, just like a 1-for-1. He's going to just be Emmanuel Sanders now. He's going to take all of those snaps, all of those routes. It'll be basically a full-time role, in extremely pass-heavy and a good passing attack. The issue is that he plays the Panthers and the Patriots up next, so not exactly pumped to like use him in those matchups, right? The most appealing situation, I guess, is, the Chargers backups with Austin Ekeler, but I genuinely don't think I'd go after any of them, right? Like, Ekeler, first of all, seems he's going to be fine. I think he would have re-entered that game had it not been a blowout. But even if, because of short turnaround, it's on Thursday night, even if he were to miss that game, we have no true handcuff, right? They have Jackson, they have Kelly in rotation behind Ekeler's last week. They might make Roundtree active. I haven't even looked into his situation at all. But the point really is they don't have one guy. And if Ekeler himself wasn't even getting like a million touches, he was just so great in fantasy because he got so many touches near the goal line, in the receiving game, and he was so efficient that like you loved him even on limited volume. If they're going to rotate in 2 to 3, and it'll be 3 running backs if Ekeler were to miss time, none of them stand out as great plays, especially against Kansas City. That's not a defense that we want to be like targeting aggressively for a rotation of running backs, right? So even if Ekeler were going to miss time, I don't want anyone on the team, and I don't think Ekeler misses time, so I wouldn't be looking at that situation. Then we've got Kareem Hunt having his injury. That's going to open the door again for D'Ernest Johnson, but Hunt only played 13 snaps this last week before getting hurt, and it led to 5 touches for Johnson, which was the norm. That was what we were seeing with Hunt gone earlier in the season and Chubb healthy. Obviously, if Chubb is out and Hunt's out, D'Ernest Johnson's awesome, but with Chubb there, D'Ernest is going to get like 5-6 touches. That's not someone you're playing anyways. So that's a situation we don't need to go after. McLaurin is obviously going to open up targets because they have Logan Thomas out. They're going to have McLaurin out. Like, there's a lot of targets, right? But we can't still trust Curtis Samuel. He's not getting enough looks. Then what? You want to play in the fantasy playoffs like Cam Sims, Adam Humphries, or DeAndre Carter? Of course not, right? So like Sims gained the most in terms of gaining snaps, in terms of being productive when McLaurin left. But you better be in a 16-team league if you're actually considering using Cam Sims, right? Especially in, again, the playoffs. So, again, you honestly, like, the top option, I think, is Gabriel Davis. I guess you could look back at that Texans situation and try and find a running back that you trust. But if there's a running back on the team that's not good enough to beat out David Johnson and Rex Burkhead, let's be honest. Like, do we want them in fantasy? No. Okay, I don't want Texans running backs. I'm not looking at that situation. So it's really just Gabriel Davis for the injury situations here and no one else. And even Gabriel Davis, you're in an 8-team league, you're not going there. You're in a 10-team league, you're not going there. You're in a 12-team league, maybe, but you're probably a lower-end starter, like a lower-end playoff team if you actually are going there. You start considering it in 14 and 16-team leagues. And even then, it is very possible you're not even using him. So you can add him, but most of you are not going to need to go there. As far as players that I would consider adding this week that are not injury related, we do have some options. First, Rashad Penny. And then we've got Amon St. Brown, Rashad Bateman, Craig Reynolds. We've got Nico Collins, KJ Osborne, and Amir Abdullah. And that list would be in the order that I would prefer them in. I don't really care at this point. I get this question like 50 times a week. I don't care about the top waiver claim at this point. If this were week 3, I'd have such a different answer than heading into week 15, right? You're in week 15, you have the number 1 waiver claim. You're not saving it for anything, right? You can't bring it into the fantasy playoffs. You've got $75 left in Fab out of a $100 budget. You can't bring that money into the off season, into next season. So you use it, right? Don't worry about overspending. Don't worry about losing the top claim or losing a high claim. Just get the guys you need to try and win now. Everyone at this point is in win now mode. So try and win now. Don't worry about the future after this week and using up a claim. That being said, in a normal week, I don't think anyone is really worth a number 1 claim, but the top option would be Penny. I talked about him last week. I believe it was in the running back start sits video. I don't really remember which video it was in, but I remember talking about him and basically saying he's looked good this season, number 1. It's just that like he had that one game. It was frustrating for me because I actually had to play him, I believe, in the 16-team league that I'm in. I played him the week that he busted off like a 20-yard carry, and it was like, oh my goodness, here it comes. Like, they're actually going to use him this game. He was the starting running back. He looked great. He gets injured immediately and he misses the rest of the game. And it's like, oh, classic Rashad Penny, right? So that is the one thing. It's always with Rashad Penny. He's good. He's a great talent. This is an offense that can have success featuring a running back, but he's never been able to stay healthy, and they've never given him the touches because of that. And so when I went into last week, I was like, well, he's good, right? And if they give him the touches, he'll be good, but I have no confidence that they will. Well, he went out there. He played 35 snaps. He got 17 touches, converted into 137 or 38, I don't remember which one, 137, 138 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Alex Collins remained inefficient, was given 8 touches on 14 snaps, did nothing with them. Okay, Seattle's going to face the Rams, the Bears, the Lions over the next 3 weeks. So 2 matchups, although if they can beat the Bears, it'd be a positive game script. And maybe they run the ball a lot against the Rams because it's a team you might want to run on, not throw on too much. And then the Lions, of course, in the championship. So there's a path here to some teams out there using Penny as their running back too. No confidence that the role will remain, no confidence that he'll stay healthy. But at this point, given what we saw and given the chance that you have found a running back that's going to get volume, who is, again, a former first-round talent, he's still talented, he should be owned in like 75 to 80% of leagues. I didn't really check, but I'm just going to assume owned in less than 10% of leagues. So he's the number one person I'd go after. Again, I'm fine using number one priority on him because you don't need to be saving it for anything. I'm fine using a lot of fab on it. That's going to completely come down to your team. But if you've got like 30% of your fab left, what do you really think is going to show up in the final weeks? Everyone at this point should be rostering all of the premier handcuffs, and so you're probably not going to find anyone that's that fantastic. And if you think Penny is going to be on your team like starting, just spend your fab to get him. After that, I would view Bateman and St. Brown very similarly. It would really just go down to who you prefer. Bateman is more talented, so if you just want to go 1-for-1 on who's the better player, well, it's Bateman. But who's in the better situation? It's St. Brown, right? St. Brown's probably going to get more consistent targets, though those targets will come much closer to the line of scrimmage. He's not someone they're going to use deep downfield. All of his targets are coming like within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So he's going to have a lot of games close season that are what we've seen the last 2 weeks. 6 to 10 receptions, really 6 to 10 targets, I would say, but only going for like 60 to 80 receiving yards. He's not going to post a ton of receiving yards, so that means he's much better in PPR leagues. He gets worse as you move to standard, especially because his touchdown chances, despite having the game-winning touchdown, his touchdown chances are very low. So both those guys, I think, are quality ads because they're rookies. Rookies tend to break out in the second half of the season. For St. Brown, they're probably just going to feature him because they have absolutely no one else. For Bateman, he's their second best wide receiver. You could argue long-term he's going to be their best wide receiver. And so I think both of them solid ads. Neither one of them are must ads because you probably, I would say if you're in a 12-team league, are not starting either of them in the fantasy playoffs. But I think they're guys that should be owned in more leagues than they are. Craig Reynolds, very interesting ad. Schefter actually reported Sunday morning that he liked this kid and they might give him some run. It also did come out that Jefferson only didn't get that much of a workload because he was sick to start the week, and so he wasn't in the game plan really. It wasn't that they don't think he's any good. It also though makes sense that they don't want to win games, so why would they activate Swift and Jamal Williams? And secondly, they're playing for the future, right? They're not bringing Swift back in a meaningless game from an injury. So I don't know that Swift's going to play again this season. I don't know that Jamal Williams is going to play again this season. And if both those guys are out, Craig Reynolds could be good. He looked pretty solid. He was using the receiving game. I just want to note that this is the Lions. It's not a good team. It's not a high-scoring offense. They're not going to find much success the rest of the season. And if they use Jefferson more next week, if Reynolds is only getting 7 touches, you can't use him. So much more speculative ad, much more just in deeper formats. Nowhere near as good of an ad as Rashad Penny, but he's an option if you need him. After him, it's only dart throws on Nico Collins, KJ Osborne, Amir Abdullah. None of them are must-ads by any means. Only really options in 14, 16-team leagues. I don't think you're going there at all in a 12-team league. Collins is just another one of those rookies that I expect them to want to feature, to want to get looks to close the season because they're like, what's this kid got? Is this kid any good? Is he part of our game plan moving forward? And so I think he's going to continue having these targets. Osborne is going to continue getting looks while Thielen is out, the high ankle sprain, obviously. And we've talked plenty of times this year, last year, about how We hate high ankle sprains because, like hamstring injuries, these can take a long time to recover from. Low ankle sprain, maybe they can come back next week. High ankle sprain, like I don't expect to see Thielen for a bit. And then there's still that possibility that, the Vikings are like in the playoff hunt right now, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. And so if they lose a few of their next games and they're eliminated from the playoffs, do we think Thielen comes back this season? I don't know. So it's possible Osborne just remains in this role the rest of the season. But again, you don't need to add him because he did nothing besides that like deep touchdown on, was it the Thursday night game? And so you don't need to add him, but I guess deeper leagues you can. And then Abdullah mixed in a lot more than you would like if you had Chuba Hubbard. Hubbard was basically only an early down back. He has the touchdown, but he wasn't getting any looks in the receiving game. That was all going to Abdullah, and it was by design. He was playing as the third down back, mixing in for some carries, and so Abdullah has a role. Full PPR league, deeper format. Again, you can go after him, not in a 8, 10, or 12-team league. At tight end, you can take a shot on Albert O or Brevin Jordan. Again, only in deeper formats. Fant got a little banged up this last week, and so Albert O stepped up, had a really solid game, catches the touchdown. They've also been like trying to mix him in more regardless. So even if Fant is fine, if you're in a 14 or 16 team league and you want a streaming option, like he's going to get some points every week, so he's fine. He just becomes a much better ad if Fant were to miss time. But I mean, Fant returned to the game, so I don't think Fant is going to miss any time. Then we've got, like I said, Brevin Jordan. He is the Texans rookie tight end. He's got target counts of 3, 3, 4, and 7 over the last month. They are also using him more heavily in the red zone. They face the Jaguars this next week, and so given that the Texans are also very likely to lean on younger players now, like it makes a lot of sense that he's going to get some looks. But again, it's the Texans. He's only going to get like 5 targets. It's just that he could go 4 for 40 and a touchdown on those 5 targets. And so if you need someone in a deeper league, he is an option that I guarantee you is on free agency. For quarterback streaming options this week, I've got Taysom Hill at the Bucks, though that could go very poorly for Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is not a good pocket quarterback. He is not going to find success through the air against the Bucks. So it's a very risky start, but he could also just run for like he's done the past 2 weeks. Was it like 100 and a score? Or maybe, I don't even know if he scored 2 weeks ago, but he had 100 rushing yards 2 weeks ago. He's got like 70 rushing yards, 2 scores this last week. If he does that, it doesn't matter what he does passing. Just the Bucks are a very, very good defense. I don't expect him to have that much success. Tua is facing the Jets, also coming off bye. He's probably your top option, especially if his running back core is out. And I also didn't mention Phillip Lindsay. He is an option. There's just so much ambiguity right now with the Dolphins running backs. Like, all of them could be healthy, and we could just have Gaskin, Ahmed, Lindsay, like everyone just back. But we could also see a situation where Gaskin and Ahmed are out, and we only get Phillip Lindsay as like closer to a feature back. Well, then obviously you want him. So Lindsay is worth a speculative ad, just with the understanding that those guys could be back, and then you just have to drop him. So just understand that. But yeah, he's actually worth an ad. I forgot to mention him earlier. But if all those running backs are out for Tua, well, Tua's going to have to throw the ball more, and the Jets aren't going to stop anyone through the air. Jimmy G faces the Falcons. He'll be a good option, or I guess a better option, if Mitchell misses again, because they're far more likely to throw the ball when Mitchell is out, because they just don't really like Jeff Wilson all that much, and Jeff Wilson has not been very good this season. And so even if Mitchell's back, I think Jimmy G's been consistent enough. It's a good enough matchup where you could play him, stream him, get in that 10 to 15 points range. Not fantastic, but he is an option. Justin Fields going to take on the Vikings, and it's finally looking like he's more comfortable. Number one, the offense, but number two, just scrambling. He's running the ball more, which is obviously great to see. Mac Jones is going to face the Colts. Not a perfect matchup. Both teams coming off bye, so you're not just getting the Patriots coming off bye. But he's been really good this season, and they're trusting him more in hurricane conditions, right? Obviously, only threw the ball 3 times against the Bills, but in most formats or in most game scripts, they're going to trust him a decent amount. He's been pretty good. You could stream him as well. None of these options stand out to me as gotta go out and get this guy. He's clearly the number one waiver ad. Right now, I would order it Tua, Jimmy G, Taysom Hill, Fields, then Mac Jones. But personally, what I would do is I would just pick your favorite right now, add them, make sure you have a streaming option. Then when the rankings do come out on Thursday, adjust from there. See who the highest projected player is, and kind of just be like, oh, okay, Nick actually thinks that Taysom Hill is the best option of my options on free agency. I'll go out and get him. And there's also a possibility that someone is owned in like 75% of leagues. I didn't consider them in this video because they're owned in too many leagues, but they're available in your league. So that's all I would do. I would just grab someone that you have or that you can get for like the Wednesday waiver claims, and then on Thursday, check who the highest projected quarterback is that's on your free agency or is on your team, I guess, and add that player. As simple as that. I would do the exact same thing for defense, though you can also use that page, the playoff streaming defenses page, and look and see who's got a good matchup this week, but then also who's got good matchups in week 16, week 17. Can you add someone that's got great matchups in all three? Can you add someone right now and then also another defense for week 16 and 17? Just kind of play through all those scenarios. How I'm seeing it right now for just this week are the Dolphins versus the Jets. That is clearly the number one option. You've got the Browns versus the Raiders. The Raiders have not looked very good on offense since like losing them all of their players. Eagles versus the football team. Football team has been very generous to opposing defenses. The Steelers versus the Titans, who have also been generous to opposing defenses that are not basically the Jaguars. And then the Texans at the Jaguars, because you just want whoever's playing the Jaguars and the Jets, basically. Even if it is the Texans defense, they're going to be a good option this week. Again, check the playoff defense streaming page. It's not going to be updated. So I record this, I edit this, I post this on Monday afternoons. That page is not going to be edited for this week's production. It'll be updated on Tuesday. So it's not going to have Sunday's numbers in there. I don't think anything's going to like drastically change, but there will be changes obviously after I add the numbers for this week. So check it again on Tuesday. Of course, you don't even have to submit your waiver claims until Tuesday night, until like Wednesday morning for many leagues. So just check when the updated numbers are posted and you'll see a note at the top of there when it is. So that'll do it for the week 15 waiver wire video. Remember, the entire website, everything on it is free for the rest of the season, so check that out. If you're out of the playoffs, we've got the sports betting information, we've got the DraftKings information, we've got Pick'em information, Survivor information, all of that is still up. And then if you are in the playoffs, weekly rankings, rest of season rankings, waiver wire page, all that'll be up. You can view all that information when it goes up though, because remember, it's only Monday right now. But my friends, is the end of this one. Hope you all enjoy. If you did, how about hitting the like button, and how about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? Thanks for watching.